It was said that the small town of Ainswood had forgotten time long ago. Days passed gently there, like pages turning in a quiet book. At the edge of the town, where the cobblestones met the mist, stood an old library, the Merrin Library, built of pale gray stone and ivy that never stopped growing. No one remembered who built it. No one remembered when it opened. But everyone knew one thing: the library had never closed. During the day, it was a calm, familiar place. Children came to read picture books by the big arched window. Elderly men dozed off near the fireplace, pretending to read the newspaper. And the librarian, a quiet woman named Miss Ilara, would walk among the shelves, her footsteps as light as the dust that floated through the sunlight. But at night, something different happened. When the town went to sleep and the clock tower struck midnight, the candles inside the library still burned softly, though no one ever saw who lit them. One rainy evening, a girl named Emma Rowan decided to find out. She was 17, curious and restless. She loved stories, not just the ones in books, but the ones people whispered about when they thought no one was listening. Her grandmother used to say, "Child, the Merrin Library doesn't keep its doors open for us. It keeps them open for the stories that never ended." Emma always thought that was just a poetic way of saying the library was old. But that night, the thought returned to her like an echo. So, after dinner, while her parents slept, she put on her raincoat, took a small lantern, and walked into the mist. The streets were silent, except for the rain tapping softly on the rooftops. The library loomed ahead, tall, patient, and glowing faintly through its windows. Emma tried the door. It opened with a low creak. The scent of old paper and candle wax filled the air. Inside, everything looked exactly the same as it did by day, except for one thing. There was music. A faint melody, like a lullaby, drifting between the shelves. It seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. She walked deeper, her lantern trembling slightly. Books whispered as if they were breathing. The air felt warm and alive. Then she saw something. A small golden candle floating above a desk. It wasn't placed on the desk. It was hovering in the air, its flame swaying gently, though there was no breeze. Emma stepped closer and noticed a book lying open beneath it. The title read, "The Library That Never Closed." She frowned. That was impossible. She'd never seen that book before. The pages were blank, all except the first one, which had a single line written in ink that shimmered like moonlight. Every story left unfinished waits to be told again. And then the candle flickered. The shelves behind her began to hum softly, like 1,000 voices sighing at once. A whisper filled the air. "Do you wish to finish a story, Emma?" She turned around, heart pounding. No one was there, yet the whisper was gentle, calm, almost kind. She nodded, without meaning to, and the candle lowered itself to the book's page. The flame touched the paper, and light spilled out, filling the library with silver mist. When it cleared, Emma was no longer standing in front of the desk. She was inside a different place, a forest painted in twilight blues and violets. Books floated through the air like fireflies. She realized she was inside a story, an unfinished story, waiting for someone to end it. A voice, soft and distant, said, "This is the tale of the boy who lost his shadow. He waits for someone to find it." Emma began to walk. The path glowed faintly beneath her feet. Each step echoed softly, as if the world were listening. She found a small clearing where a boy sat beneath a willow tree, his face pale, his hands empty. "Are you the boy?" she asked. He nodded. "My shadow went looking for the sunrise, but it forgot the way back." Emma smiled gently. "Then maybe I can help you find it." Together they searched through the dreamlike woods. Every tree whispered names of stories long forgotten. Every breeze carried echoes of words once spoken aloud. At last, they reached a quiet pond where moonlight rippled like silk. There, on the surface, was his shadow, floating, waiting, shimmering like ink in water. Emma reached out and touched it. The pond stilled, and the shadow leapt back to the boy's feet. He looked at her with a peaceful smile. "Thank you," he said. "Now my story can rest." Then the forest began to fade, and the whisper returned. Emma gasped. She was back inside the library, standing before the open book. Only now the blank pages were filled with beautiful handwriting, the complete story of the boy who lost his shadow. The golden candle dimmed and drifted away, joining 100 others floating high above, each resting over a different open book. She realized these were all the unfinished stories of people who once dreamed them but never wrote them down, and the library was keeping them alive. The whisper spoke the den. "Every story finds its reader, Emma. Tonight, you found yours." The candles flickered softly, as though they were bowing good night. Emma closed the book and placed it gently back on the shelf. As she walked toward the door, she noticed something else, a small plaque she had never seen before, engraved in old silver letters. The Marin Library never closes, for stories never truly end. She stepped outside into the misty dawn. The rain had stopped. The first light of morning brushed across the sky. When she turned back, the library looked quiet and ordinary again, as if nothing had happened. But inside her lantern, a tiny golden spark glowed, dancing gently like a memory of the candle's flame. She smiled. She would come back again, not to read, but to listen, because now she knew the library never slept, and perhaps the dreams inside it did not. If you could spend one night inside a library where books come alive, which story would you open first? Tell me in the comments, and maybe, just maybe, your story will whisper back.